Okay, super quick intro time. I'll see if I can keep it under 30 seconds. Let's go. So 2 weeks ago, I made a video analysing an Ultron scene from an old Marvel cartoon, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and well, I got a lot of positive feedback, so I'm gonna make more, starting with this video, which is going to be a broader analysis of the show as a whole, as well as its relevance to current day Marvel. My hope is that it will also be a good jumping off point for further EMH videos by me or other creators, if you haven't ever watched it or just need a reminder. Alright, intro done. How long was that? Like 27 seconds, nice. Okay, so here's some background. Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, or EMH, aired for 2 seasons between 2010 and 2013. It was developed starting in 2008 by Marvel Animation and Film Roman, and it was replaced after its cancellation by Avengers Assemble, which many, including myself, consider to be substantially inferior. There's no definitive answer for why it was axed after only 2 years, but surprise surprise, it probably comes down to merchandise. The most credible speculation suggests that after the Disney takeover of Marvel, the execs wanted an Avengers cartoon more visually similar to the recent smash hit MCU film. The thinking was, kids aren't gonna buy EMH toys after watching MCU films, as they'll have no clue who half the characters are. But enough with the history lesson. This isn't a channel where I just talk about things I like. I try to take more of an analytical approach. So, back to the title. Why should you watch EMH in 2021? Well, first of all, the obvious point. It's good. The voice cast is stellar. Each hero sounds uniquely themselves, with equal parts gravitas and comedic timing. It was made with children in mind, maybe, but clearly not just for kids. There's jokes, but they're not juvenile, and there's real drama here. One thing the show does really well is character. We have all these larger-than-life heroes, but they all feel human, and they all have clearly defined character traits. Tony is a bit self-absorbed and arrogant, and is focused on the future. Initially, this is his own future, personal success and all that.
Was actually. What? I'm the majority shareholders of about 15 minutes ago.
But by joining the Avengers, we gradually see this widen, first to his team's future, and then for the common good. Thor is motivated by his desire to make a difference. It's why he stays on Earth. He can change things here.
Here, I can make a difference. In Asgard, the endless cycle of fighting, it is meaningless. On Earth, everything matters.
It also drives some of the show's cosmic episodes, such as when the Avengers save Asgard, or when Thor helps Beta Ray Bill. This genuine altruism sometimes creates conflict though. Thor's drive to help Earth keeps him in an unfamiliar world with unfamiliar customs, and so there's always a restlessness to the character. Hank is a pacifist through and through, and wants to solve problems and crime without the classic superheroics, leading to really genuine moments of self-doubt and personal struggle, especially when this decision leads Hank to quit the Avengers, or to create Ultron.
Ultron is a robot that Iron Man and I designed together. I've been mass producing them since the breakout to act as wardens to 42.
How are you feeling today, Jerome?
Ultron can't be hurt, he can't be corrupted, and I've programmed them to help rehabilitate the prisoners. Pretty great, right?
In moments like these, plot comes from character. Hank's struggle with his issues leads to the pacifist AI Ultron turning into a world-threatening danger, which recurs again and again and has real consequences for the direction of the show. I have another video talking about this show's Ultron in more detail, which I'll link below, but the point is that in EMH, things rarely happen randomly or in contrived ways. This feels like a real world with real consequences. The show strikes a balance between an episodic monster of the week format and longer serialized arcs, but even at its most granular, there is a continuous world here, and it's rewarding to see it change alongside our characters. That takes us to another reason to watch the show, the planning of it. Bear with me here, you'll see what I'm getting at soon. I got thinking about this after reading some of my comments, thanks Santos and Melanie Robinson, who pointed out that everything in EMH seems to thread into the next story or the next plot twist, and when you're looking back you can see all the pieces, even before they fall into place. For example, Ultron was there from the start, acting as supervillain guards and therapy bots in the big house in the pilot episode. The only reason the robot went rogue was in a last-ditch effort to stop Kang, who was trying to stop the rediscovered Captain America from changing his timeline and destroying Kang's future.
I have come from the 41st century, traveling to this backwater time period for one simple reason: to eliminate you from the timeline.
Captain America was only around to change the timeline after being found by the Avengers, who were formed by Loki, causing the supervillain breakout to distract Thor. So Loki's actions at the start of the show not only form the very team which defeats him at the end of season 1, but this inciting event also causes a series of dominoes to fall, which directly lead to both Kang and Ultron becoming two of the Avengers' biggest threats. And there's plenty more examples like this I could give. It's all connected. This is likely because the show was developed initially as a block of 52 episodes and had a team including Christopher Yost, who was there specifically as a story editor. The result of such careful planning and forethought is a sharply defined world where the highlights of 6 decades of Marvel continuity is processed into a single consistent setting and story. Does that sound familiar? It should, because that's also the idea behind the MCU, but it isn't quite the same for a few reasons. The MCU is designed as a series of overlapping stories and characters in a consistent universe, or multiverse now, and largely it is, but when you have so many different writers, producers, directors and so on working on over 10 years worth of film and TV, the consistency is a looser one. This is both good and bad. More cooks in the kitchen increases the risk that one of them is going to mess up. I don't think that any of the MCU films are bad, but I think it's safe to say that some are definitely better than others. There's a far wider range of quality. We've had films like The Winter Soldier, but also like The Incredible Hulk. Again, not a bad film, but if the MCU had been planned as carefully and as rigidly as EMH, things would probably be more consistent. But then on the other hand, the downside of the EMH approach is that we never would have got the fresh, unique takes which make the MCU so great, like Ryan Coogler's Black Panther or James Gunn's Guardians. So neither approach is better or worse, they're just different approaches. And that's why I think watching EMH in 2021 is so interesting. In an age where the MCU has become this cross-cultural juggernaut of popularity, EMH looks different in retrospect, different to how it looked in 2010. And it's most interesting when we see different takes on things like Wakanda or Groot that have since become cultural mainstays. The result is a vision of a parallel MCU, anchored firmly in 2010. It's a world with supreme narrative consistency, which makes for a great watch, but it's also a world where Carol Danvers isn't the Kelly DeConnick-inspired Captain Marvel we're all so familiar with. She's a now unfamiliar Ms. Marvel. It's a world where we see what the Guardian films could have been like in the hands of someone else, with a gruff, no-nonsense Star-Lord.
Who are you? What do you want with Korvac?
I'm called Star-Lord. And you have to listen to me. You have no idea who Michael Korvac is.
If, like me, you were into the Marvel world before the MCU became what it is today, it's a reminder of what this world looked like before T'Challa was a household name. And if your introduction to Marvel was on the big screen, it's like a miniature window into a universe that is at once familiar and ancient, frozen in time. And it's especially helpful in 2021 for showing the MCU in a new light, for revealing exactly what it is these films do differently, and what they bring to the table that wasn't there before. And the final reason you should watch EMH? It's easier than ever before. If you've got a Disney Plus subscription, it's but a brief search away, and for the rest of you, it's probably pretty easy to find elsewhere. Not that I'm condoning anything, mind you. I'm planning on making more videos on this show going forward, with an eye on what these stories and takes on certain characters can teach us about the future of the MCU, so subscribe if you want to catch those. You can hit the bell too if you want. I don't know what it does, but everyone else keeps talking about it, so if you like clicking bells, go right ahead. I made my first video on this topic like a week and a half ago, and it was my second video ever. Then I went away for a week, having maybe 20 subscribers at that point. I've just come back, and that number has increased tenfold. I am floored that we're about to hit 200 subs so fast, and if you're subscribed and watching this, thank you so much, and I hope you like this. See you next time.